Kiana, do you want to mute the speakers until it's her turn to talk so we don't get the feedback?
Well, she'll be able to hear us.
Oh, okay.
She'll still be able to hear us, just we won't get anything coming through. And then we can just unmute it when it's presentation.
Hopefully that's all right. Thank you, Lowrie.
No worries. Thank you for the invite today. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I echo your sentiments. It's lovely to see such a range of experience and skills in the room, and well done, Vector. Awesome job of recruiting people into this course. Everybody that I've worked with at Ocean Watch has actually had the privilege of being part of this course, apart from me. And it's not for any other reason that I never had the opportunity because of time and role and however. But I have had the opportunity to take part in the Australian Rural Leadership Programme. Similar, just looking at not just seafood but across the spectre of agri-food skills as well as health and other sectors as well. So I'm really envious of the time that you've had together, and first off I'd say remember your cohorts. These are your colleagues for the next 20 years or so, and that's something to remind yourselves that you have a network of people that know you really well after this course, and don't forget that. That's certainly something I took from being on a leadership course over, I think it was about 18 months, that people get to know each other really well, and you've got a resource in all of these people in the years to come, so don't forget that. So I don't have a presentation because when I have a presentation, I tend to focus on the presentation and the information that I'm trying to get across. So today, I've not got a presentation deliberately because I'm trying to talk about leadership from my perspective. And I obviously want to talk about Ocean Watch and what that means to me in terms of leadership and the work that we do there. I take it that most of you have some sort of an idea about who Ocean Watch is as an organisation. So I'll just sort of glance across the role really of the organisation. It's a natural resource management organisation from 2014 where the minister, the fisheries minister decided that Ocean Watch was needed to be created as a marine NRM to match the land-based NRM regions across Australia to have representation for those who work in the marine space or play in the marine space. So Ocean Watch was given this role in 2014, but obviously we've been around for 30 years now. We were founded in 1989 as a response to incredible pollution issues off Sydney in particular. And in the mid-90s we became a national organisation. So the role is to work with the seafood industry in particular and communities across Australia on better practice, engaging communities in understanding what industry and marine industries as well as seafood industries do in the marine space, their practices, their principles, and things like codes of conduct, and disseminating that sort of information. So that's a loose understanding of who Ocean Watch is. But effectively, we think of ourselves as we are the industry's environmental charity. We're here to help industry with some of the difficult issues that it needs to quietly work on to make a difference in how business is done. So we've got a very small team. It sort of flexes in size depending on projects. So anywhere between 5 people and 19 people is really the scope and scale of Ocean Watch over the last 20 years or so. Currently there's 7 of us. We have a turnover of about 1.4 million. Now that starts off as a grant or a levy that comes from the producers in New South Wales, the harvesters, the merchants and the market, of around 65,000. And that is our permission to speak on a lot of these topics. So we take that levy and we actually augment it by 22-fold to that 1.4 million. So we start off with a bit of incentive money from industry, and everything else comes from really competitive grants. So it has to, our work must resonate with not just the funders but also the industry, because we really don't do anything without the agreement of industry and also the involvement of industry. I'm going to leave Ocean Watch now. That's who that is. I'm Welsh, and my first language is Welsh, not English. So I learned to speak in English when I was a child in Wales. So I'd like to say diolch yn fawr am mwynhau yma heddi. Mae'n bleser I fod yma, ag wrth gwrs dyma'r iaith ydw I wedi codi gan. So I'm just trying to tell you that I thank you for inviting me here. I want to thank you for allowing me to tell you about myself and where I'm from, and that whilst you don't understand what I'm saying, it's the spirit in which I come, which is to thank you. So I come from a family that is quite diverse in its interests. I come from an opera singing family, performing, stage performance, as well as rugby playing family, which, you know, I'm Welsh, come on, so we sing and we play rugby. And I've certainly tried to carry on that tradition, but I actually went into performing arts, and I trained as a dancer. I had a dance company by the age of 21. I did one of the first ever dance degrees in the world, and went into the theatre world full time when I was 21. And then I had injuries and blah, 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 blah. And I worked through management in theatre for quite some years. I loved the work that I did because it's all about passionate people doing passionate things, wanting to communicate, wanting to tell their version of the world to the world. So I had a lot of pleasure in touring around Europe, a lot of small towns, a lot of big towns, with a company of people. We'd be on a bus, we'd be on trains, we'd be on planes, and you know, just like you guys here, you sort of go together in a big team, and it's all about, you know, presenting something to the world and the pleasure that that gives you. So that was probably what I did for about 10 years, and I had great fun. But I had a hankering about what I was seeing and experiencing in the world. So just to jump back into my childhood, my father worked for the oil industry, and whilst I'm from Wales and my family's Welsh, and we do everything in Welsh, that was the language of the family, we actually travelled around the world a bit. So I've lived in North America, I've lived in the Middle East, I've lived obviously in Europe, and now of course in Australia. And given that range of experience, what it's given me is a sense of difference in the world, and the different experiences that people have, whether it's culture, whether it's money, whether it's no money, whether it's experiences, whether it's how communities interact, whether you are a tribe, whether you're with family, how your perspective on the world. So it's very different in North America, obviously, to Kuwait, where I was as a kid. So I went to school in Kuwait, I went to school in North America, so I had all of these really different experiences which has shaped me. And I think that's what we have to remember, is your experiences in life have actually shaped you to create who you are today, and the experiences you're having today will reflect on where you've been. And I guess my view when I was in my 20s and working in the arts was that not everything was right in the world. And whilst there was this wonderful performing, it was the performance of trying to create perfection on stage, when we are actually living in a world where there are so many things that are far from perfect, whether it's communities struggling with drought at the moment, or whether it's climate change, or whether it's all sorts of different things. And so I found that whilst I was working in theatre management and then on to working in sponsorship, what I was actually coming across was the corporate world was ploughing ahead. This was the 80s and 90s where, you know, especially in London, it was really about making lots of money. And reflecting on how communities were coping with this was not something that was really happening. So I started to do a lot of pro bono environmental work. And I guess it was harking back to the days of understanding what is the energy world doing, and this is oil and gas that my father worked in. And so I had very close experiences of going to an oil refinery when I was 10 years old, or going to an oil rig, being on supertankers, and that's shaped who I am as well. So I made a concerted effort to not just retrain, but actually re-educate myself. And I came to Australia to do a master's in Melbourne, and it was in environmental planning, specialising in the marine space. And I had a ball, because it was yet again another type of performance, because it was about not the real world, but the academic world. But I was keen to finish that, get it done, and then start working in the industry, or marine industries. So after a while, I found myself at Ocean Watch, because there was a fit here. It was an environmental charity, but it was actually trying to create real solutions. It's trying to help people connect to community, and I'd had that experience of connecting the arts world, the corporate world to community. So I feel like that's what I bring to the table, that's slightly different to a lot of people in the seafood industry. But I think the most important thing I do bring to Ocean Watch is the focus is on people within the organisation, but also outside. We don't, thank you, we don't focus on, we're a not-for-profit, so that doesn't mean we're a not-for-loss, but we are a not-for-profit. It's really about the outcomes on the ground, so it's the interactions with people, the trust that we can build up in industry to attempt to do things differently, to attempt to change, to actually work on those really crucial hard issues that you were talking about, and be the change themselves. But actually that starts from a point of feeling that you can create change, because that means you are able to take risks. So at Ocean Watch, one of the most important things I try and create is a feeling that our staff can fail. And I say that quite genuinely. We're not trying to fail, but we are allowing ourselves the opportunity that we might fail, which means it's a safe environment to actually try all sorts of different things. And I think that idea of play is something that comes from my past in the theatre world. So that's one of the key things I would say is we are working in an industry that's quite conservative in its risk-taking, and that conservative attitude does actually bring a straitjacket to when we're trying to be innovative. We also have regulatory management, which is obviously quite restricted too. So the idea for Ocean Watch is to actually be able to operate with an idea that we can change things through being creative and bringing people along on the journey. I've only got a couple of minutes left. I just want to focus a little bit on what I consider to be achievements. I think you could look at how many dollars you bring in through the door, or how many awards the company has, and all those things that are great and really meaningful. But if it comes back to people, which is what I believe Ocean Watch is all about, and being the CEO of Ocean Watch, to me, the marks of achievement I look at and say, okay, this is meaningful to me, is when I allow staff to achieve their full potential. And to see one of my staff members get an award from the New South Wales government recently because of his outstanding achievement for the industry, that to me is awesome, because I'm doing my job right. I'm actually allowing my staff to reach their full potential and make sure that nothing's in their way. So that's one of the leadership roles that I recognised when I came out of the ARLP, is it's not about me anymore. It's about everyone else. And I think that goes back to your question about unity. If we're only looking at what's in this for me as an individual, how are we ever going to achieve an us? So for me, once I became CEO, it clicked. It's not about me anymore. Ocean Watch is not me. Ocean Watch is the staff and the people that we work with, and the achievements that they're looking for. And all I'm trying to do is make sure that there's nothing in the way from them reaching their goals, whether that's the fisherman who just wants to sort this widget, or it's a staff member who's just so desperate to get something off the ground. I'm just here to enable that to happen. And I'm going to leave it.